Welcome you all to your Danville City Commission meeting. This is our regular meeting. Today's date is Monday, January the 13th, 2025. The time is 5:30 p.m. and the commission has instructed me to say Happy New Year to all of those who are in attendance this afternoon. And it's always good to have a city commission meeting, but it's especially exciting when we have an audience in person to talk to, besides just the back row group back there. You all know who you are, right? But Happy New Year. Commissioners, the first thing I'd like to do is offer a word of prayer. We're going to be led in a moment of prayer by Commissioner Jenny Holland, and then we're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Mr. Michael DeBoer. He's an old pro at this, right? So we'll see. Okay, Ms. Holland?
Sure. Let us pray. Lord, just thank you for the blessing of living in a safe and thriving community. And thank you so much for our city staff that keep us safe and clear the roads. Thank you also for our irreplaceable citizens that volunteer and give back that we're recognizing tonight. We think of those in California. Pray that you'll bring rain to the area and help us to make wise decisions today for the betterment of every citizen. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. DeBoer, you want to come up? He's dressed for the occasion, and he already has his city pin on. All right, young man, let's go. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You don't get off that easy. Commissioners, the next item of business is to approve the agenda. I'd like permission for you all to approve the agenda with a couple of amendments. We're going to postpone item number 5, the CLG grant application will not be discussed tonight. And then we're going to withdraw. Number 6 will not be discussed. The zone change has been withdrawn by the applicants. So the chair would like to entertain a motion to withdraw those 2 items from our discussions tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with amendments as read.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Thank you all. Next item is we hear the public at this time in our meeting, and this is where we listen to the public who wants to talk to us about items that are on our agenda. There is an opportunity to hear the public again later on about things that are not on the agenda. But if you'll raise your hand, I'll recognize you. Come to the podium, tell us who you are, and we always say we'll give you 3 minutes or less. We'll listen to you for that long, and then you hear a little bell go off. It means very nice and politely return to your seat. Okay? Anyone desire to speak to the commission about items on the agenda? Hearing none, or seeing none, so let's move right along then. Welcome tonight. We have an Art Citizen of the Year recognition, and Ms. Mimi Becker is going to do the presentation. Thank you for your presence tonight, ma'am. Happy New Year to you again.
And you too. Is this my, oh, okay. It's always our privilege at the Arts Commission to recognize members of our community for their service and their gifts to us in the area of the arts. We always seem to have the pleasure of having the first one with us. Wilma Brown was the very first person to ever be recognized as the Art Citizen.
How many years ago?
In 2004, and she's still with us.
You said 50 years ago.
Our 2024 Art Citizen of the Year is also with us. We are pleased to announce that it is Bruce Richardson, as we announced in December. Bruce has been in our community since about, I believe, the early 90s in that area. 84. Thank you. He came and became quite active. He served as the assistant conductor for the Lexington Singers while he was in around the area, because he performed at the Singletary Center and the Lexington Opera House. He was the minister of music at the Danville Lexington Avenue Baptist Church until 1995, where he installed the Moeller pipe organ. He established a very vibrant music program there. The thing that we are so fond of, in 1990, he founded and directed the Danville Children's Choir, which is still in existence today. We'll have a little bit more news about that in a minute. He has been very active in choral performances all around the area. While he was director of the children's choir, they traveled. They went to Carnegie Hall, the University of Chicago, Disney World. My son was on that trip. The St. Louis, the Cathedral in New Orleans. And he also was participant and guided the Boyle County Gifted Arts Program. He has been a frequent conductor and clinician around the area. He turned his attention, though, in 2005 to the Elmwood Inn Fine Teas. His business there has thrived. He serves on in many areas around the country, has led tours involving tea culture. While here also, he was on the first board of the Arts Commission. He served on the Arts Center of the Bluegrass Board. He was president of the Brass Band Festival and the Perryville Preservation Association, and he served 2 terms as mayor of Perryville. He has traveled, taught the center winter term in Japanese art history classes, field trips to Boston. So he has done such a range of things, but he's also an artist himself in other areas. He's a gifted photographer. He has had exhibits in the Art Center of the Bluegrass, the Lexington Public Library, the Church Cathedral in Lexington, galleries in Elizabethtown and New Harmony, Indiana. He's written and photographed a dozen books and numerous magazine stories. He appears in a documentary, Tea, the Drink That Changed the World, that streams on Amazon Prime. He also stays active with his grandchildren, serving as a coach for their violin studies. So there's more than that. He's gracious. After having had just kind of a little stumble in the news, he was very gracious in accepting my apologies. That he's still with us, and publicly he was very nice in granting accepting apologies. So, Bruce, could you come on up, please?
Oh, he is still with us, right?
Yeah.
They had a tradition of years of going to festivals all across the country, and one of the best festivals is close by in Cincinnati. So we're delighted to have the community endorsing that program this year. So, and I'll just say too that as I look around here, I see Stephen Dexter, one of my best boy sopranos ever. And my son Ben, also a wonderful boy soprano. And the great thing about being a part of this community, which is so culturally rich, and seeing so many of my students come into my shop, and I see them and they tell me what they're doing. I thank you for this, but you know what? The greatest thing that I receive is just the acknowledgement from all those children now, 40 years later, who come to me and tell me what they're doing and how much the arts has meant to them and has enriched their lives. And that's really what we're all about. And I thank you as City Council for improving the arts and making it so rich here as well. And Mayor Atkins, your two sons were one of my first two singers in my children's choir years ago.
Yeah, they're still 13, though.
Yeah, that's
Good
right.
about that, man, right?
So thank you. Oh, I counted at one time, maybe close to 600 children over the years, too.
Wow.
But let me say, too, if you don't know that I was placed on the obituary page of the newspaper last week, and somebody from India wrote to say, it's very rare you get to read your obituary before you actually go to the grave, so this is a plus. And I told Shelley, keep that page, it'll come in handy someday. So it's all positive, right?
Take it so well. So Crystal Gray is our board chair, and she has moved it for you. And some of our board members are here today, too. So thank you all very much.
Thank you all. Congratulations. Chief Gray, you want to come forward for the next item on our agenda? Should I read this title that's on the agenda? I have down here that you're going to do a life-saving award and recognition. It is just that, but I don't want to read it out loud. He likes directing them, doesn't he?
Get on them first.
Come on up here, man. Right here. Come on in. All the way up here, right? Right, center. You. It's like the shifts change, right?
Where's the rest of the little crew at? Hey,
Yeah, there you go.
hey. Yes, come on. Come on. I know the kids want to be up there anyway.
Oh, yeah, you know that. Come on.
Mayor and Commissioners, tonight, it's a proud pleasure for me and my command staff to honor two of the finest that we have working for the city of Danville.
Yes.
To serve and to protect the most honorable aspects of policing. January the 1st, 2025, we had a very intense incident on the parking garage, on the roof of the parking garage. Sergeant DeBoard, Sergeant Wilson responded to an individual suffering from a mental crisis. The young lady was standing on top of the parking garage, contemplating jumping. Sergeant Wilson was the first on scene, very calm demeanor. Talked to the young lady, trying to de-escalate and calm the situation. He was able to do that until Sergeant DeBoard arrived, and they were able to pull the young lady off of the parking garage ledge into safety. The swift action and thinking of these two individuals saved your life. It's in these moments that these two officers put their lives in harm's way to save another human life. It was their great courage and dedication to their profession. On behalf of the city and the Danville Police Department, we want to thank them and commend them for their actions. We'll present them with the life-saving medallions and pins. We just want to say thank you. These are two of the finest. They're frontline supervisors, they're sergeants. They're out there every day, every night. And it's a truly honor. If you saw the video, you'd be impressed. It's a very intense 3 to 5 minutes. And it's not very often you come to work every day and save somebody's life. But that's what happened on January the 1st of 2025. We are thankful for their coming to work for the Danville Police Department. I'm proud to say that I promoted both of them, just let y'all know that. But in all seriousness, yeah, we do give them thanks. We are very appreciative of those actions, those nights. It was very courageous that we have these fine gentlemen, and we're glad to have them. And we're very thankful. Appreciate you. Appreciate the wives and the kids sharing them with us. And that's why I had them sitting up there with them. So thank you all very much.
We'd like to present keys to the city to two officers. I didn't understand the seriousness of the situation, but I spent about a minute watching the video. That's about all I saw about it. So you think about training, you think about patience, you think about patience, and you think about training. Whatever happened that night, you guys were very successful. You were whatever he did it to you, save the life of just one citizen, definitely in our community, but to her, to us, she's a very valuable citizen in our community. Thank you. Yeah, you never know. Yeah. It cleared out the audience, but
Where's everybody going?
that's okay. Be sure you all stop by and get some of that cake that the Arts City Commission has. What I said to those guys is that, we never know. We all get up and put that uniform on and go to work and don't know what the day holds for us. And as just everyday ordinary citizens, we don't know. But man, that was a tough situation. So the whole community should feel blessed because of what happened. Okay, let's move along then. Our next item on the agenda is to have an update by the ML King Event Committee. And Sister Weathers, you want to do the presentation for us? Make sure they understand that you're not doing a good one, right? We'll talk about him.
Can't do it quite like he does it, but it's a pleasure to be here to share about the Martin Luther King celebration happening next Monday. It's coming Monday, January the 20th, and I have flyers, and I'll post one here at the city as well. I have extras I could have shared. But just to share, I am really excited about this year because working at Center and then also being on the committee, we just made the decision to make this a joint effort between the city and Center College. And so on January the 20th, as you see on the flyer, it's also posted on social media. Please, if you see it, please help to share the information. But the march will start at City Hall at 9 o'clock. We'll march from City Hall to Norton Center. We'll depending on the weather, how long the walk will be, but we'll walk to Norton Center, and then from 9:30 to for an hour, we'll have a social hour and a live band. Michael Hughes and his band will be performing along with some continental breakfast. And then also, thanks to the city and physical court, we have these nice T-shirts that have already come in, thanks to our vendor, and they will be available for free to the first, I think we have about 400 shirts that have been ordered, so we have plenty, and so we look forward to a successful event. And then we have student volunteers from Center will be handing out the shirts as well. And then at 10:30, the convocation will begin in Newland Hall with our guest speaker, Dr. Daniel Corey Schull from Louisville, Kentucky. And so just help spread the word. Thanks for the partnership with the city, for the financial support, for physical court, for the financial support. And I look forward to this being a very successful event in collaboration with Center College. Of course, our office, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, are spearheaded from our aspect. So any questions?
Well, thank you all for the program and the efforts. Commissioners, any comments or questions?
Well, I see this group meeting regularly throughout the year, so thank you for the group effort, putting forth, all the effort and putting this together.
All right, thank you.
And she's invited the mayor and the commission to walk in the march together, so, and any city staff who wants to join us, feel
That's
free
right.
to join us. And our resident photographer, you feel welcome to join us too, right? Any other questions or comments?
But it's, the main thing is just to help to spread the word.
Yes.
That's the biggest challenge, with not a lot of opportunities to, put in the paper or whatnot. So please just help us spread the word through social media, through word of mouth. It would be a
Yeah.
great help. All right?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, be careful what you put in the paper there. Man, that was. Okay, thank you all. Thanks for the committee's efforts. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes of last meeting, which is 12/9/2024.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving our minutes, say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you, the motion carries. We're skipping item number 5 and number 6. So the next item is airport board reappointments. You have that in your packet from this weekend. So Chair would like to entertain a motion to reappoint some members to the airport board.
I'll make a motion to approve the reappointments as listed. Jake Bell, his term expiring 1/31/2029. Patty Powell until 2/28/2029, and Doug Gooch, 3/30/2029.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Those three have been serving very faithfully and loyally, and it's neat to have the rest of the airport board to recommend those three back to us for another term, so. Hearing none, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those three have been reappointed. Thank you. Next item is a discussion by city commission members about a meeting, time and date for the next 2 years. It's always customary in January, the first meeting after an election, that we have a discussion about setting the time and date for our regularly scheduled city commission meetings. Well, there's always other special call meetings and stuff, but this is the date and time for the regular scheduled meeting. So, floor is open for discussion.
I like it it is, so I would move that we keep it the second and fourth Monday at 5:30, but open to discussion for sure.
Well, I would like to suggest we move it to second and fourth Mondays, the second and fourth Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. Same time as fiscal court meets up on the corner up there. What y'all wondering, what y'all laughing about?
You'll be lonely.
Yeah.
Well, on a more serious note, I would even suggest we do it, say, 3 o'clock, 3:30 on the second and fourth Mondays. That way we'd have better attendance and would not stretch our city staff to stay here till 8, 9, 10 o'clock with us some nights when we have our meetings. So we can reconsider an earlier time in the day as a possibility. Any others?
You
Any
think
other
that would
suggestions?
improve
What's that?
attendance? You think that would improve attendance, or?
You didn't have to ask me that. You want me to answer that out loud? Well, I don't know if it'd improve attendance. It'd improve attendance by and participation by our staff. I don't know what it would do for public participation. Our regular community attendees, I gotta be careful how I say this, they're all retired, semi-retired. They're really concerned and involved. I don't know. Anybody else got any suggestions on time and dates?
Well, I wouldn't mind moving it earlier as well, but I think that 5:30 is there for a reason, for those that aren't retired. And we do awards for the kids that they can actually be available.
Okay. Any other suggestions or thoughts? Y'all laughed at my 9 o'clock suggestion, man.
Yeah. I've often had constituents say they appreciated us being at 5:30 after work. On the occasion, like a couple of zone changes and other things, I've actually had people say, I'm glad you guys meet after work, so.
I don't know who your friends are. Oh. No, that's why we discussed it. And we haven't had this discussion in quite a little
True.
while.
True.
But,
I have the same concerns about the staff, but I'm not sure
yeah.
how it works.
I mean, we have our budget meetings at all times throughout the day, and I wish more people would come to the meetings at all the times, because those are really, really important. I mean, all of the meetings are important.
Yeah.
This is more general business, I
Yeah.
see it, and budget meetings are where we're deciding where we're spending dollars. So, I mean, we do that anyway. But, and we don't have a lot of participation at those 9 o'clock or 5:30. So I don't know what the perfect answer is.
I just wanted to have a discussion.
I do think, Mayor, it's possible to maybe thread the needle to a degree in the event that what we've been open to doing in the past is in the event that there are items that have interest from the community in having input. What we've often done is set that for secondary meetings to allow for those type of events to take place so more people can be heard. Sometimes we've tried to get away from our regular business meetings of having a tremendous amount of hear the public, only because there's quite a bit of business to transpire. So we've oftentimes moved those to other special meetings to allow for community input on specific issues. I just want to remind you of that that has been a history of ours on items that deal with things that people wish to speak to.
There was some discussion too, to have one, rotate them, have one in the evening, one more focused on business transactions, contracts, things that require you guys to spend more time on, that having that during the day will it tends to allow you to take more time on deeper subjects. So there was a dialogue about that too at one time, to have one in the evening and one in the daytime. Yeah.
That works. And I don't mind that either.
So 1 to 9, leave the 9 o'clock alone, right? I'm sorry.
The only thing about alternating them is
Yeah.
it's a little bit more complicated for those
Yeah.
in the public to realize which meeting is early and which one is late.
Well, to be honest with you, when I walked in and saw the crowd here tonight, I said, wow, this is exciting. Of course, I knew why they were here tonight. If it was an unknown reason, they were all like, kill the commission, so, I understand it, but no. We usually have people who come for the right reasons, and tonight was another good example of that. And I don't know why we put those nice kind of things like that at the start of the meeting. We ought to make them wait until the end of the meeting. No, we don't do that, but, okay. So the chair is open for a motion
Made a motion.
Yeah,
to
made a motion.
set date and time and location for our
Wasn't seconded.
25 and 26 regular commission meeting dates.
He made
Yeah.
a motion.
I made the motion
What was your motion?
to leave it like it is.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh, okay. So you've moved to leave it at 5:30, second, fourth Mondays?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm open to.
You
Well,
can't
that's
make
a
a motion and
motion,
say,
that's
but. Is that a
We can
motion?
vote it down.
Oh, well, is that a motion?
I've made the motion.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any other further discussion necessary? Then the chair will call for the question. Is it appropriate to do a roll call? No.
It is.
Do roll call vote? Okay.
Commissioner Cottle,
Yes.
Commissioner Peak,
Yes.
Mayor Atkins,
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Holland.
Yes.
Commissioner Saris.
Yes.
No. It happens. Well, it just got documented, didn't it? Okay. All right, let's move along. I still love all four of you. Okay, next item in our agenda is, Human Resources Year-End Report. No, I really almost wanted to skip that one, but they wouldn't let me do it. Okay, Human Resources.
We can put it at the end.
Mr. Bo. Put it at the end.
Yeah. Now, for here, I just want to give a year-end report, just kind of several topics here to go through for our department, and just kind of overall with the workforce and some of the initiatives we're working on, and just how we performed in the year 2024 with our workforce. So this is just a top-line overview of some of our projects, and we've talked about a few of these. We're kind of in the final stages of wrapping up our OSHA consultation, and we're now starting to transition over some of our key projects, which is obviously we're in the middle of a compensation study and beginning health benefits renewal, which are two key components, especially as we get into the budget season, and we'll talk more about those as we go through this. But I did want to talk a little bit about safety, because that has been one of our big initiatives this year with work. Well, really over the last 2 years, our safety advisory group has really focused on health and safety, which was one of the reasons that we asked OSHA to come in and do a consultation with us this year, just for the public's benefit. That is actually a voluntary consultation. Doesn't mean we're doing anything wrong. It just means we want to continue to try to improve the workplace safety. And so we feel like we've done that. And you can see here, these are some of the things that have kind of come out of that, which, updated emergency action plans, hazardous communication programs. We've actually worked really hard on confined space programs and just general housekeeping and facility inspections. All these things are, add up to help improve health and safety, not only for the employees, but anyone that's interacting with the city, whether that be the general public, contractors, et cetera. So where we go from here is is our next focus point. We've established our strategic action plans, and as we go into next year, our focus is to basically keep up with what we've established and the maintenance of all the functional duties, which our safety advisory group we're working on that, and we have to have an action plan to come forth. But at the end of the day, what's this all about? Well, really, at the end of the day, it's about keeping our employees safe and anyone they interact with as they provide services to the public. And so this is a top-line overview of our accidents for this year. So we've had a really good year overall. When you look at the report, most of our accidents are minor treatments, return back to work. We didn't have any injuries, and this is really a key to us, is we didn't have any injuries that were a result of unsafe practices or negligent acts of staff. What that means is staff is exercising their duties and doing their jobs, and some of these are a result of just circumstance. But really, we've had a really low injury rate. And when you look at our injuries, a third of our medical claims were a result of a third-party negligence, not negligence on staff's part. And some of that's the nature of the scope of the work, especially when you talk about like first responders and things of that nature. And this is our top 3 injuries, strains or pull muscles, slips, trips and falls, and exposures, which as you get into the winter season, is something we've talked about. We actually just went through training. Slips, trips and falls is a key exposure area, especially when we talk about like ice on sidewalks, walkways, et cetera. And so we're really trying to minimize that through just ingraining safety culture throughout the workplace. And then if you look at our numbers, our recordable injuries continue to drop. Really in 2022 is when we put a renewed focus on safety. And out of that, you can see that those numbers have dropped. We have one injury this year that is a lost time injury, but we are actively engaged with that individual. It wasn't anything that was preventable. It was based on nature of circumstances, the job, different factors, but we're actually engaging with them. Taking that one injury out, you would have had really 10 injuries with minor treatment with no lost time days. And considering the nature of the work that the city does with so many safety-sensitive positions, I think that speaks volumes for our staff and our frontline supervisors that they're buying into our safety focus as we continue to move forward. And then just next project we worked on, we talked about this, and I put this back on here because I wanted to bring up some changes with some regulatory changes. We had talked in the fall about the salary threshold that the Department of Labor had implemented effective July 1, and then it was tiered and it goes up January 1. Well, that actually, a court put an injunction on that back in November, so that has been since put on hold. And so your salary levels have reverted back from that $58,000 that was going to become in effect. And when I talk about salaries, I'm talking about salary level to be exempt from overtime. It's reverted back to its original level of $35,000. But with that said, we still are moving forward and finishing up our classification review with Sergio Turner. We actually have finished our initial review. We had 79 job classes. Out of the 79, we determined that all but 5 were properly classified. We've got 5 jobs that are under review. We wanted to move forward with this, not necessarily just to make sure that we have the jobs classified correctly, but also we want to make sure we have organizational consistency. And what I mean by that is you want like similar situated jobs to be classified the same, to make sure that there's equity through the organization. So we should have that wrapped up here soon. We just sent them some information this week, and we hope to have a review, and we can look at that through the budget process. Good news is the majority of our jobs are properly classified, but with the Department of Labor's an injunction putting on that new salary law, it gives us a little bit more time to go through that through the budget process this year, as opposed to having a hard deadline of January 1. And again, that all came back to this at the 11th hour back in November when that come through. And again, we don't know what's going to happen. As the new administration comes in, they'll probably review those regulations, and we could probably foresee something coming down the pipeline. I just don't know if it would be quite at the level that it's set at now, but it's to be determined. Okay. Compensation study, so we talked about that. We are working through, following the same due diligence, working with Hannah Resource Group to do a review. We've actually already started looking at preliminary data, and so we'll sit down and go through that, just the same exercise that we've done the last 3 to 4 years. And we talked about this really heavily last couple of years, that as that market continues to I want to say, change rapidly. We look at this every year, and then we'll hopefully have a compensation strategy come forward through the budget process as we get further into it. But I just want to put this on here to reemphasize that we're following the same systematic process as we've done the last 4 years in looking at salary data against the market. And then so as we get into it, I just wanted to show kind of our employment numbers. This is where we're investing our human capital. You can see the pie chart here. We've got it pretty well broken out. Obviously, we have a large contingent of part-time employees, most of those obviously within Parks and Rec. But you can see this is where you're investing in really each one of your fund types. And you can see, obviously we've invested a lot in public safety, more in water utilities over the last couple of years because those are two key areas that we've continued to try to expand upon. And then this is your retirement numbers. And we share this typically every quarter, but it is important. At pie chart right now, as we've talked about, is sitting at about 50% Tier 3. Again, that 30% portion, that's the portion of our workforce, as we've mentioned before, that can retire in the next year to 2 years. So that's obviously, we're already starting to work on succession planning and focus on that because that's probably one of the most key areas that we'll have to work through over the next couple of years is preparing for those next round of future leaders too. And then really at the end of the day, what does our turnover look like? So we've done a really good job. The board has, all the actions the board's taken with workforce initiatives, you can really see the fruits of your labor there. And our turnover has dropped this year. We're running at 97% retention. Looking at talking to some of the constituents around the state, we're a lot of them averaging 10, 15%. I know there's a lot of different variables, but the initiatives that the city has put in place are continuing to pay dividends on retaining your workforce. And then, of course, this is your turnover chart here. You can see these are the different reasons of why employees left. Obviously, there's some factors we can't retire, but as I mentioned earlier, when we get into succession planning, that retirement portion of that pie chart eventually will get larger. So that's really an area that we've got to focus on. And so we continue to work on everything across the board. We hope that retention numbers will go up. I feel like we can still improve upon and where we're at, but again, I feel like we've positioned ourselves in the market strong against other government entities. And then safety personnel. So when you look at our safety personnel, just look at the pie chart. We've lost one first responder this year. Those were factors that out of the city's control. Outside of that, your retention has been very strong among your police and fire and 911 as well. And then these are the areas that we've invested additional capital. So we talked about, we've turned over 6 employees this year, but we've hired 14. So we've been able to, we're a plus, net positive when we come to investing in our capital and our workforce. You can see police and fire, we were able to continually recruit those positions. We've brought more on to Parks and Recreation as well through, just strategic planning. So all good signs, and hopefully we can continue to, like I said, retain these employees. And we're seeing a large, strong response of quality applicants on our job openings. And so that's been a really good response rate to that, again, we feel like we're trying to brand the city as an employer of choice. And then this is just a quick update. These are 2 positions. These are the jobs we're hiring for. We've shrunk it. We have 2 jobs right now. I will say when you look at the water industry and the 911, Chief and I were just having a conversation earlier about recruitment for 911. Those are 2 areas that, not with the city, but just in general, that those are high demand jobs, and will be 2 key focal points for us as we move forward. All right. So another thing that we did this year is every year we go through and do town hall meetings with staff. We just wrapped those up in December, and part of those town hall, the objectives is just to let staff have their voice to talk about things maybe that they've seen, challenges like with our health benefits, claims, but also things that they would like to see as far as whether it's, benefits, total rewards, compensation. And it allows us basically to know what's important to the workforce and really get to what we call meat and potato changes that matter. And so this is really a summary of what the city's workforce is telling us. Most employees are really satisfied with their benefits. One thing they would like to see is we got a lot of feedback that people would like to see enhanced dental and vision benefits this year, which we are working with our brokers to try to expand some of that if we can, if it's feasible. A lot of employees are asking for flexible spending accounts. These are, tax deferred plans where they put aside their own money to use for medical expenses. We do have the ability through our HRS software to do that, so we're going to look at that this year to see if there's enough interest. Another feedback we got is holidays. I know we added, making Good Friday a full holiday this year. And, we talked about that we would come back through the budget process and bring discussion to the board about holidays. But these are just some of the things that staff's saying they would like to see if we were to add additional holiday, for FY '26. And then longevity incentives, we've got our 3- and 5-year program, works really well. It's done a good job with retention. Some folks have asked us to consider looking at a third tier, which is a 10-year tier. And we've kind of discussed some of that, but obviously there's a lot of financial planning that goes into that. But again, these are the things that the staff's telling us. And then leave benefits, really the underlying thing that we got here is really a lot of staff's asked to look at going to a PTO plan. Right now, obviously they're segregated with vacation and sick leave because you're in the standard sick leave program, KPPA. But as we move towards tier 3, right now their sick leave program, it's a lost benefit the way that's structured because those benefits are not comparable to tier 1 and tier 2 employees when they retire. And so I think that, and again, that goes back to what I mentioned with that pie chart earlier. As we segue into tier 3, then that becomes, eventually you're probably looking at 80-85% of your workforce being tier 3. So we're going to have to really start crafting some of our policies around that segment of the workforce. And then it's just where we go from here. So again, we're going to continue to focus on safety and risk management more this year on the functional side, our total rewards, which I mentioned some of that just now. And then obviously succession planning is one of our key things that we're still trying to work through, and we're in the early stages of that. And then just keeping up with the regulatory environment, and hopefully we can continue to move forward. And so we'll have more stuff to talk about with the goals and things as we go through the budget process as we get into the spring. So.
Thank you,
All right,
sir.
yeah.
Any questions or comments?
So you'll be bringing some of these forward, maybe in the budget process, the requests that were made?
Yeah, I think what we want to do is we'll sit down and look at everything in totality when we start putting together our compensation plan, the budget, and then look at what we can do with total rewards. Because we've talked about, I think we've kind of just talked in general terms about looking like, for example, the longevity program, maybe can we expand that? I don't know what's feasible, but we want to look at all these things through the process. And then, trying to look at the holidays, because we talked about that. Every time we do add a holiday, there is a cost to it because you're adding overtime to, a large portion of those departments. So we'll put all that together as we go through the budget process.
Because I agree, on the tier 3, you're going to have to look at, you're going to have to look, the city as a whole is going to have to look at tier 3 because it's totally different than 1 and 2, for the employees and the outcome at the end, so.
Yeah, and we thought it was tier 3 is this is 11th year for that tier, I believe, 2014. It's feasible that we're already going to start seeing some tier 3s that can retire. Maybe they're not been in the system long, but they're, reaching Social Security age.
Right.
And then, in simple terms, you may have a tier 3 employee that has 1,000 hours of sick leave.
Right.
Well, what happens to tier 1, tier 2 is those go towards either their tier 1, it's towards their retirement benefit. Tier 2, it goes in towards their health insurance subsidy, but it's a lost benefit for tier 3. Now, that's not anything that's set by the city for the public's benefit. That's set by the state. But I do think we've got to look at that because then it becomes an unequitable benefit eventually.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking the workforce what they want.
Yeah.
So that's the way to retain.
Well, and I think one thing that really stuck out, if I go back to, I just want to share, is when you look at that, what we didn't really hear was that the compensation was so low. Now it's more about, yes, we got to stay competitive. We've got us where we need to be. We've got to maintain. Now it's more about those total rewards, the total package, health benefits, time off, et cetera. So that's what really stuck out to me when we were listening to what folks were telling us.
Mr. Board, if that January the 1st, 2025 timeline was enacted for this year, what was the number of employees that we have already at that level? Was that 70-something?
No, it wasn't at that level. It was, let me see if I can go back to that report for you. No, the 79 were your different job classes. Now, at that level, I don't have those numbers right in front of me, because that 58,000 was the minimum to be exempt. I want to say for the ones that we have roughly 20 classifications that were already defined as exempt, I think out of those classifications, I think we only had 3 that on the minimum scale would have been below the threshold. Now, their maximum would have been above it, depending on where they're at on their step process.
You're saying 3 classifications, though, not just 3 jobs?
3 jobs, yeah, but 3 classifications,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
But again, I do feel like that's going to change, because this came up about 10 years ago. You saw a similar process where, it was put in place by Department of Labor, but it didn't go through a public comment period. And so therefore, got an injunction put on it. Now, again, I don't know what's going to happen here in the future, but I do foresee that it'll raise, which is all the more important to why we have those jobs properly classified. But also, again, we want to make sure what we do as an organization, that we're consistent too across the board.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, sir.
I had one more comment. Thank
Yes,
you for
ma'am.
the chart about the turnover.
Yeah.
It's enormously costly to turn over employees, and I was impressed that we went from 27 in 2020 to just 6, and, that allows us to be much better stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, so thank you.
Other comments? You have the next item, Resolution 2025-01, 1302, Hub International Contract Renewal.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So Hub International, in a partnership with Johnson and Pullman. Hub used to be Peel and Holland, but they were acquired a couple of years ago. They've been our broker since 2022. They've served us well. So the contract's up for renewal February 1st. The annual brokerage fee is $53,000, which would be the same level as last year. So staff's just recommending that we continue another year with that same broker partnership.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2025-01, 1302.
Thank you, ma'am. Second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, likewise, motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Board, you have the next one, on-call duty amendment.
Yeah, so before the end of the year, we had brought forth our handbook policy amendments, and part of that was a new policy for utility on-call. Myself and Marshall and our superintendents, along with some feedback from staff, we identified a couple of amendments that we wanted to make to the policy. So you have those in front of you, the original policy along with the amendments. Nothing significant materially, but really it was to clarify some language, make sure we had a couple paragraphs that were inconsistent regarding return to work time, when employees get compensated. And also we wanted to make that policy structured, but also broad enough to where it wouldn't impact their abilities as managers to make some operational changes with, efficiently. And so really those amendments in front of you are a direct result of just some follow-up conversations we had with utility staff and some things that we wanted to clarify on our end as well.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve municipal order 01-1301-2025.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you. Next is an annexation discussion. Mr. Coffey, you going to lead that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The staff received the request from the property owners identified owning the property, Stoneland LLC, with a request to have that property officially annexed into the city. If you'll go to the last page, we've included their request and consent to the annexation. But the very last page is a graphic which illustrates the location of their property inside of the corporate limits. And what you'll see is that their property is in totally included and surrounded by the city already. They were kind of an island with the original annexation that occurred way back when, being with an ag designation that's since expired. And so I think that they correctly are indicating the request to be in the city, and we couldn't identify a reason really to not do it. And so staff is presenting it for your input and direction.
Thank you, sir. So you wanting direction from us?
Yes,
You
sir.
need a motion for
So
action
the
from us?
motion, we'd like to know if we didn't want to take the time to draft an ordinance, annexation ordinance, and go through the work unless we knew that's the direction you all wanted to go. And so we're presenting it here, seeking a little bit of direction from you on how to proceed.
Okay.
Looking at the map, it makes total sense. It's, like you say, surrounded by the
It's in,
city and.
it's in the city, bookended by the road, on the north side, northeast side. There is, I would like to footnote before you all get too deep into it, there is sewer available to the property along the Spears Creek to the northwest end of the property. It's got this city's lagoon on the property. A few years ago, we worked with the property owner to actually acquire some of that property. There are water lines on the Bergen Road end and the Lexington Avenue end. And so it's accessible to city utilities as a tract of land.
Other questions or comments?
Like Commissioner Caudill, I think it makes sense. Will planning and zoning have anything to say about it?
No, sir.
Would we make an intent to annex today? Or,
No, you would just approve someone would make a motion to accept the request that was presented to you and by Stone Land, and then at your next meeting, we would have a consent annexation ordinance first reading. The intent to annex only is applicable for non-consensual annexations, and so this would just be a first reading of an annexation ordinance at your next meeting.
Thank you, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the request by the landowner of Stoneland as presented.
Second.
Thank you all. Any other discussions? All those in favor of moving forward, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Okay.
Thank you. We'll bring it back.
Mr. City Manager, you have the city manager report up next.
To go right into it, we will try to be fairly short. Would like to point out some dates. First, it's New Year. Happy New Year to everybody. This is the first meeting of the new year, and I would like to acknowledge that. We would add this week, January the 15th, we'll be in Lexington at the KLC Newly Elected Officials Academy. So we'll be down there all day we're participating, and so we'll be down there on Wednesday. January 20th, MLK Day, City Hall's closed. Of course, the community celebration is at 9 a.m., like we heard earlier. The 22nd through the 24th is the Kentuckians for Better Transportation Conference. I know there's several of us that will be there for that. And then February 10th is the next commission meeting. Winter weather has gotten us. We survived last weekend. We were a little bit worried. We did play worst-case scenario. We operated under the assumption we could get a significant snow event on Friday. Turned out we got lucky, somewhere between 3 and 4 inches, which was manageable. The weather was favorable on Sunday and diminished what was left on the ground. And so we want to acknowledge everybody that were employees that were out. We were out some, and it was easy to observe their work. Public Works did a terrific job on the roadways. The police and fire were out. The fire staffed up. Everybody was well aware and well prepared for the events over the last 10, 12 days. We did have some damage. There was a couple incidents in town. Of course, we had the 12-inch water main break at 3rd and Main. We understand that that's a mess up there, and so we'll try to get to that. We appreciate the water utility guys. If you see a small break under your sink at your house and how water goes everywhere, it is significantly worse, I promise, with the 12-inch main. And those guys did a terrific job. It wasn't out that long. They were able to get it sealed up in just a few hours instead of a day. So we sincerely appreciate that and appreciate their effort, which was part of just the overall response from everybody involved and the community. We had a lot of folks call us, not angry. There were some requests made. Those were able to get satisfied. They appreciated the response after they had made the complaint. And so we're thankful for the citizens, thankful everybody was generally stayed off the roads when it was really bad. And so we survived that one, and we'll go forward. We did have an audit update. We are working on the final document now. There has been a draft provided, so we expect to have that closed up this month if all goes as planned, unless Lee has another update that she would like to share.
Just that it's with their technical review, which for you guys probably doesn't mean a lot, but essentially it's their process to make sure that they've done their due diligence in the audit process and the final step before they produce a published audit.
I will say that what we were on a meeting there a couple weeks ago with KLC folks, and the question was asked from some other cities about their audits and what do we do to get back on track in their community. What we learned is since COVID, that industry is behind. I know everybody's tired of hearing of COVID, me as well, but the industry is behind. There is a labor shortage in the industry. There are some firms, because some governmental rules that are moving away from doing audits, local audits, including for counties and cities. And so it is an industry problem. A lot of people are behind, and I think we will, if we get this audit done, we'll be on track by the time our deadline is due, I think, but at the same time, they've said that before. So we'll do the best we can and continue to put pressure on it, but we are not alone. And I just, we're doing the best we can with urging them to finish it. Without going through all the other projects, we did have an update. There were some complaints on the garbage pickup. We did thank Josh and his folks down there from getting an update from Republic. They did announce that they were on schedule this week. They did say for those that missed services over the last few days to store bags adjacent to the cans, not on top of the cans. They pick those up automatically, so I'm sure it's to prevent a mess, obviously. They did ask, too, if you move the cans to the curb, to try to get it clear of snowbanks or debris or anything like that so that they can easily get to it. And then that's all I've got for now, unless you all have questions for me.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Any questions from city manager?
Yeah, I can go with a couple. It's interesting, you guys, staff did a great job of keeping our streets clean. But somehow we got to get out to our neighbors that they got to get off the street with their cars, because on some streets they had to plow around cars on the street, and it brings back safety vehicles trying to get into neighborhoods. Somehow we got to get that message out to people. And the reason I'm bringing up, in one case over citation, there was a person parked right in front of a no parking on this side of the street sign, so that was pretty glaring. We got to figure out how to fix that. Yeah. A couple more things. One of them is be a little humble over there, Earl. Earl is actually a conference presenter at the KLC, so You'll make us proud, I know you will.
He hadn't done it yet.
Yeah.
But we left to present it.
And you do have this long list of project updates. It's not an agenda item, but can we do something real quick on your site visits for the indoor facility on parks?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Okay.
You're gonna be sorry.
Yeah, Tommy's he's gonna put everything down in writing at some point and get you all a report of everything we've looked at. We've been to 6 different facilities so far. We went out to Western Kentucky and went to Madisonville, Muhlenberg County, and Bowling Green, and then that was back in December, and then last week we went up to Shelbyville, Versailles, and Georgetown and looked at their indoor facilities because they have aquatics. So the first visit was out west to look at more, multi-court recreation, more of a basketball, volleyball kind of setup, and then last week we looked at aquatics. So we learned a lot about what not to do from all these folks because they've been in these facilities for varying amounts of time, and I think we're narrowing in our heads as staff what we think this will look like. And he was doing some sketching over the weekend. I think he was texting me pictures of sketches he was doing. So he's pretty deep at this point. But we'll come back to you all with a report that kind of tells you all what we learned and what we think that will project moving forward.
Anyone else?
I did have two more things that popped up today. One, the hospital is wanting us to partner with a Black History Month celebration of some kind. We're looking at February 20th. So we're having some conversation about what that will look like. I think that it could be a good partnership and be a good event for the community. We won't try to get out in front of them on it. We'll let them assemble their agenda and present that to you. And so we'll bring that forward at the next meeting, hopefully with a little bit more detail, but we're looking forward to a nice partnership with that. We look for those opportunities on events like that especially. It sends a broader message, and so we appreciate them taking a lead on that. Also, we have a brief update with the Water Commission. So we met with some of those folks today. Remember, we talked about the 150 corridor, and so we did have a good meeting today. We were in the room with Mount Vernon and some other folks, and there was a lot of the other communities have passed their resolutions, and so we're quickly working towards assembling that so that we can start getting organized and trying to figure out what to do first. And so we will just mention that to say that that is progressing. The other communities are also agreeing with the idea of a water commission. I know there's a meeting this week with Mount Vernon. I think they'll be on board with it based on our feedback today. And so it is progressing. That is a significant win, really ultimately for the region in terms of how we communicate with each other, redundancy of water supply, all those issues that are essential to quality of life. In the background that nobody sees, like our 12-inch water main. So those are underground. A lot of times we take those for granted, but partnerships like we're trying to develop there is significant.
Okay. You good now?
Yes, sir.
So we move along then. Next on our agenda is the second opportunity to hear the public. Folks may raise their hands, be recognized, and approach the podium to speak to us about these items. Yes, sir.
Well, good evening. My name is Terry Mannon, and I live at 311 East Lexington Avenue in Danville. And I'm really here on behalf of Boyle County Habitat for Humanity to make 2 requests of the City Commission. But before I make those requests, just to remind everybody, and you probably know this, that Boyle County Habitat for Humanity is an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization dedicated to building efficient, affordable, entry-level houses for Boyle County families who otherwise could not afford to own their own home. And we built 46 houses in the last 34 years. But the reason we're here is that we're in danger of not being able to build a house this year because we can't find an affordable building lot. For over a year, we've been working with the city of Danville to try to acquire some of the 14 vacant lots that have city liens. And we appreciate the efforts made thus far by Josh Morgan and Stephen Dexter to that end. Our current understanding, and if you have any better information than this, is that most, if not all, of these 14 lots have got other liens in addition to the city liens on them. And that for the city to dispose of and if the city were to try to dispose of these lots, you'd have to first foreclose upon the lot and then sell it via the master commissioner. And I guess our first request is if our understanding is correct, then we would just ask if the city gives some priority to the foreclosure and sale activity efforts of these vacant lots so that they can be made available to people who want to put houses on them sooner than later. But more importantly, the second request we have is related to the fact that Habitat has just learned from Josh that the city may own a vacant residential building lot on Chestnut Street. And so our second request is that the city give some higher priority to determining whether or not you do indeed this vacant Chestnut Street residential building lot. And if you do, that you move as quickly as you can in the next several weeks if possible, because we have to start building a house soon, to either preferably sell the lot directly to Habitat or make it available at least via the master commissioner sale so that we have a chance to bid on it and build a lot this year. So those are our two requests. And any questions or any clarifications to what I said?
Yeah, I'll jump in a little bit about that Chestnut lot, why it came up. When our intern we had summer before last, Jackson, he did a project for me where he just researched properties that the city owned. We were kind of building an asset database a little bit and spreadsheet. And this lot appeared on PVA that we weren't aware of. I kind of just pushed it off to the side because it's a very small lot. And I thought, well, maybe there wasn't a deed. I've actually done a little bit of research. I can't find a deed for the lot. I can only find a plat. And then it came up this fall that a property owner next door said, hey, there's a tree on this, and the PVA says the city owns it. Can you all come clean up this tree? That kind of thing. And we kind of moved that. So when Terry and I were talking about all this, and we talk quite often, and when we kind of ran into roadblocks with the foreclosure processes, that this was going to take more time, and that we weren't going to have anything by this spring, that lot popped into the back of my head. So I just reached out to Steve, just like, it was over the holidays. It was around Christmas. I said, hey, there's this lot. Can you help me figure out what's going on with it? So we're really early on in that process. We don't know what's going on with this lot, but it's something we're going to look into. I told Terry about it just because I wanted him to go look at it and say, hey, is this a possibility, before we went through a big process of trying to figure out what's going on with it. And it is something that they're interested in. So that may
Time is
be,
of the essence.
yeah, that may be something that works out really well, and it may not work out. But we're going to look into it and see what we can do. But yeah, I just want to jump in and add on that Chestnut Street because it's interesting to us as well that was there and the ownership isn't really defined in PVA.
Any other further questions?
Thank you.
And I also invite, Terry and I were talking about him coming to the meeting tonight. It's just good publicity. If somebody has property that they think this would work for, if they're willing to reach out to Terry or Habitat, and somebody might have something they just don't know that Habitat has this need. So I wanted to kind of put that out there where just publicly. We talk about things in meetings sometimes, and all of a sudden somebody calls and says, I've got a solution for that, just out of the blue because they heard about it at the meeting. So that was.
Of the two requests, the most important one to us right now is just the Chestnut Street one.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't require any foreclosure, it doesn't require a long process. If indeed it's something that the city, unknown to itself until just recently, owns a residential lot, that would help.
Could we do a PR verb on our social media? FYI, Habitat, and we're both kind of looking for a lot.
Anything would be appreciated. We've tried various things ourselves.
Look at PR back there. Oh, give us some content, yeah, that'd be good. We can do that, just to get the word out, you're looking for a lot. Melanie Crossville has one for sale. I think they're doing some research, but we can go ahead, go along, keep moving? All right, let's go on then, all right. Anyone else to the public? Things not necessarily on the agenda. Commissioner comments? You've already hit those, let's move right along.
I just want to say thank you to staff again for all that they did during the ice and snowstorm to keep everything moving. I appreciate it. And then also, I think January 9th was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. So I just want to say thank you to you all for all that you do. Yeah, everything.
Have we had a meeting since all the downtown holiday celebrations? And then we're gonna ask them
No.
to come to one of our meetings to be thanked appropriately, but
We have.
in commissioner comments, I was gonna say, well, thanks for all the work that was done during the holiday season, because all of my out-of-town friends who came to visit me, that one, you know, they all said downtown looked really good.
Yeah.
Great parade, great children's activities, a little bit of everything. Okay, let's go on then. Next item is paying of the bills. Is there entertain a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $1,957,150.57 as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries.
I did have a question, I'm sorry.
Too late.
I was going to ask, Lee, I'm sorry about that. Comcate, what is that?
That is our code enforcement software. So it's an
Okay.
annual subscription to our code enforcement software.
Okay. Thank you.
Wow, she's waiting on them. Okay, you did good. All those, oh, we did pass that, one, didn't we? Carry that
Yeah, we
motion,
are.
right? Okay, next item
Get
is
it backwards.
2025-01-1303, unclaimed property. Ms. Compton.
So we were made aware not too long ago that the city as an entity has some unclaimed property held with the Kentucky State Treasury. So citizens may or may not be aware that you sometimes will have unclaimed property from, say, an old payroll check that you never cashed, or a reimbursement or a refund from somebody. Well, the city also occasionally will get unclaimed property. Stuff gets lost in the mail, it wasn't sent to the right address. Nobody in my department at this time would ever just lose something, but maybe in the past, right? So we are requesting permission to submit a claim for unclaimed property currently held with the Treasury in the amount of $4,061.
Well, okay. We don't- The chair need a motion to approve the request. That's interesting. For unclaimed property. Is there a motion?
Yep, I'll move to pass resolution number 2025-01-1303.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Man, probably got my name on the check, so.
It is, it's going directly to your address. Well, it's a joke for those listening at home.
Wow. All those in favor of seeking the unclaimed property, say aye.
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 Those opposed, that's gonna be interesting. You can report back on that one. You will let us know if you get anything, right?
Within the packet, it is actually the listing of all of the checks that are held. So the state will send us directly, I think, the one check for all of these items. So for instance, we have a claim from Tractor Supply in the amount of $18.63. Likely that is something that we returned, and we never got that check. A few of them, like there's some ADP, is a payroll processing entity. They file for business registrations for a lot of entities. So likely they sent us a business registration in the amount of $25 and it got lost in the mail. And we'll get that in one lump sum. So we should get that from the state for everything on the list that we've claimed.
Wow, that's gonna be interesting. Thank you, ma'am, for seeking that refund. Next item. 2025-01-1304, the Hankler easement. Mr. Carrier.
Thank you, Mayor. This is in regards to the acquisition of a permanent 20-foot water line easement across the property owned by John and Donna Hankler. It's at 671 Stony Point Road in Bull County. The purpose of the easement is for future water line installation. There's an existing line that runs along the north edge of Kentucky 34 there that when it was put in many, many years ago, it was in an area that's very steep incline with a lot of tree growth. And so that causes a operations and maintenance issue for us in case we have a main break, for example. So we've asked the property owner about a 20-foot easement across to the north of the property, Stony Point Road to the north.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-01-1304.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or comments?
Marshall, didn't we do this before? Or it seemed like we talked about it, or?
Yeah, we talked, you've heard me talk about this and a few other easements before, more than likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Josh Morgan, you have the next two items.
Yes, sir. Thank you all.
Short and sweet on these two, right?
Yes,
Good
short and
sweet,
sweet,
right?
for sure. In your package, you have a quote from Stringfellow Incorporated. They've quoted this through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement. That's why we're able to procure this without bidding. It's in the amount of $225,163.58 for a new street sweeper. This will replace our street sweeper that caught fire a couple months ago. We did receive an insurance check with it, which actually exceeds this amount by about $11,000. And the reason for that is we're actually going with a little smaller truck than the one that burned up. We're going back to the truck we had previously. Last time we purchased the truck, which was about 2 or 3 years ago, we upgraded to a little bit larger truck because we wanted the right-hand steering. That truck, once we started looking at replacing them, after it burned, one thing, it caught fire and burned, which I think is probably a fluke coincidence, but also it's hard to buy the same truck again. But also, we kind of wanted to move back to the smaller truck. So we're going to move back to the smaller truck. To add to this, there'll be another approximately $8,000 purchase on top of this to install right-hand steering in the smaller truck, because we do like to have the right-hand steering for the street sweeper. So all that to say, we would like approval of the quote in the amount listed at $225,163.58.
As an update briefly, though, the old street sweeper burned. Just in case you didn't know, it burned up on the road one day while they were working.
I assumed everyone knew about that, yes.
Well, I remember, or I thought I remembered sending pictures at the time.
Yeah, we thought Jenny Rogers was on fire.
It wasn't Jenny
I
Rogers.
know, we didn't know.
Yeah, but that did in fact happen. The old street sweeper burned up.
That sounded like my first car. You never knew.
The cause is really unknown. I know people are curious. The cause is unknown. We're letting the insurance and the company that made the truck kind of work that out, see what caused it. But thankfully staff saw smoke, and when somebody drove by and pointed, and they were able to get out and get away safely, because it was
a pretty violent burn.
it was really burned. It was.
When did that happen, Josh?
It was November. It was early November, I believe.
Yeah.
I was in these.
Early November.
So is that on the road doing its job and it just?
Yeah, it was out on East Main, right past Jenny Rogers. Yep. Yeah. And there were charred leaves 20 feet in the air above it, so the flames got pretty high. So we were just really thankful nothing worse happened.
I apologize to the rest of the commission for not knowing, but you guys are all experts about social media, so I just knew you all knew about it. But we all went running down Main Street because we thought it was too close to Jenny Rogers. It would hit kids at Jenny Rogers. So, okay. But anyway, is there a motion to approve the purchase of a new street sweeper?
I move for approval of Resolution 2025-01-1305.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I'm laughing because I just said, boy, I can't believe social media missed that one. Wow. Okay, the next item, Josh, is our Tree City application.
Yes, thank you. This is just enabling the mayor to sign our 2024 Tree City application. I want to give a thanks to MJ Decker, our stormwater coordinator. She's taken this over since she started in the summer. We have a new horticulture agent at the extension office, Alexis, who was the previous one, used to help us with this a lot. So we've had some turnover, but we've been able to get it to a point of applying, and I think everything's in good shape, so we just need the mayor's signature. So.
Is there a motion to approve the street city application?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2025-01-1306.
Thank you,
Second.
ma'am. Thank you, sir. It says 2024 street city application. Is that right?
Yes, we're applying for the previous year that we
okay.
did. We did all the tasks that we were required to do during that calendar year.
All right, good. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
We never see CJ. She just doesn't pop out too much.
Well, I'm trying to keep her away from this kind of stuff as long as I can. Somebody dragged me into this kind of stuff too early when I was too young, so I'm trying
I
to
just gotta kind of say, hey, I
not make the same mistakes.
wasn't gonna cross-examine her or anything.
Chief Bray, let's transition to the next item. Chief Bray, get Josh out of trouble.
Mayor, Commissioners, I think you have a copy of the Resolution 2025-01-1307. It's our yearly highway safety grant application. It's a federal grant. It's 100% reimbursable. I think we applied for $10,000. This does our highway safety campaigns like Click It and Ticket and all those other traffic safety campaigns that the federal government endures during the fiscal year.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-01-1307.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you. Congratulations, Chief. I know there's a need for an executive session, so, and it's supposed to be quite lengthy. Is that the right word, lengthy? So I would like to entertain a motion to not have an executive session tonight.
Second.
You're right. Is there a motion for an executive session tonight?
For personnel.
Oh, God. Bring me some.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61-810-1F.
Thank you, ma'am. I think-
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you, sir. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Aye. We going to the executive session?
Sure.
All right. Let's All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Did pretty good.
All right.